Thank you for watching, and remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for your support.
Yeah, Justin, thank you for sharing that perspective here and just actually learning about, where it happened upstream and how that was so dramatically different than 2010, which was a bad flood. Really gives us perspective on just how bad this was. Justin, thank you for all the stories that you're sharing from there. Here, I know it's going to be a long road to recovery, but definitely, certainly sharing about what happened here will help others in the future. All right, let's talk pretty nasty, and then we're going to watch here almost the same zone again as we get into Friday, just a little further to the south and east. So this is the forecast area outlook for severe weather on your Friday, and you can see we've got southern Minnesota, northern parts, northeastern Iowa, a 3 on the Torcon. All modes of severe weather are possible. Isolated tornadoes, damaging winds, as well as some hail. A couple of disturbances rolling through this week, excuse me, and ahead of each one of them, we see the moisture getting pulled up, but then there's another disturbance right behind it ready to come on in and help trigger some active weather. So this is a very active pattern. It's going to add up some rainfall, which is good. We do actually need the rain in Minnesota. We do not need it as much in Wisconsin, and so that's where it could cause some problems and possible flash flooding in the forecast there. We see that risk of thunderstorms here as we get through your Saturday as well into Minnesota. And yes, Minneapolis, we've got, 3 rounds of active weather coming our way, at least, actually, so be ready for some big rain. We'll be right back. Look, every single new piece of data we get, every model run right here is incredibly critical, actually, right now. So we're going to take you out to the forecast, show you what it could look like. Alex showing you how warm those water temperatures were there in the Gulf of Mexico. That's key, right? Because the water's not just warm on top, it's water that is warm all beneath that as well. Deep, warm water here, which would allow strengthening. Let's take you through 2 of our models. This is the European model. We start with the forecast on Friday, and you can see it does have a closed low circulation that would be moving out here, affecting perhaps the western end of Cuba, but then really with not a lot of sort of distraction to its development and then moving into the Gulf of Mexico. The GFS model is a little bit faster. It's also a little bit stronger, but taking a similar path, but the speed is actually quite interestingly different between the two, because you see what happens with the European model. It actually takes just a little bit more of a western jog. Not a lot, but a little bit, and that gives it a little more time over water. The GFS here is a bit faster. In fact, by Sunday morning or by Sunday at some point, it would already have here very close to land here, if not making a landfall by this point here on Sunday, based on the GFS model. The European model is that Sunday at that same time, you can see it's still hanging back over the warm Gulf of Mexico waters, and then we see it approaching land as we get into Monday. So if you live in Florida, if you live in Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, even Texas, you can see how there could be some potential impacts here all along the way, depending on the exact track. Of course, the impacts we know go outside the track, and the area of rainfall does differ based on which model you look at. Pretty big footprint of heavy rain actually into Louisiana based on the Euro model, with that a little bit more slightly western track compared to the GFS right now. It pushes that area of heaviest of rain and actually has a bit more rain, just a bit more to the east, but would bring us into the Florida Panhandle and some really big rain out of this as well, looking ahead to the end of the weekend into early next week. So Alex, there is a lot we need to unpack with this one, and certainly this is an area that is well known for hurricanes this time of year.
Implicated in potential impacts when it comes to Invest 99L.
Watching the models last couple of days, Houston was definitely here, a potential area that we're watching here. And honestly, still from Texas all the way to Florida, so all of those zones need to be watching what's happening with this area of investigation, 99L. It has a 90% chance of developing here. And you're looking at the next 2-day development area. It's right here over the very warm waters of the Western Caribbean. Now, sometimes the winds are a little stronger going through this area, the trade winds, and sometimes that precludes development in this area. But you look at where we are right now, we don't have any really strong trade winds coming through the zone, so that won't be there to prevent development. What we do have is a little bit of a trough up here to the north and east here, and that's actually what's causing your showers today over South Florida. That said, that may be moving by before we get Invest 99L up here into the Gulf of Mexico. So then we have to look at, okay, if it's going to develop, what is going to steer it? We have a pretty strong area of high pressure, our subtropical ridge out here, and so if that's the only thing at play, that would steer it off to the west, right? But not necessarily, because we have some troughs coming through to the north. We think there's going to be a weakness there on that western side of that high, and so that would allow it to get lifted up to the north. And that's why we're looking primarily here at coastal areas from northeast Texas all the way through Louisiana, watching Mississippi, watching Alabama, watching Florida too, because impacts will be felt outside of where we see that direct area of impact. I mentioned the warm water. This is a look at the ocean heat content. So not just about what's on the surface, but what's below that too. And we have a lot of deep ocean heat content. And Alex, we know this is a zone that we could see storms rapidly develop and even rapidly intensify. So we need to be ready for this weekend. So I want to get to that. That would be from Invest 99L. We also have two other areas of investigation in the Atlantic, 97L and 98L. The first up, 97L, this is up here in the central Atlantic, just to the east of Bermuda, has a 70% chance of developing within the next 5 days. But important to see that development area. It actually takes it away from us here, keeps it out in the waters. So we'll keep an eye on it for sure here, but not have imminent concerns about it impacting land. Then we have the next one up, 98L. This is a 50% chance of developing within the next 5 days. And you can see that zone as well here, still in the Atlantic. Again, one to watch here, but again, no imminent land concerns. 99L, this is the one that has a 90% chance of developing, and we do see impacts here already. Seeing some squally weather into Jamaica, even before this thing develops. We're watching the Yucatan, we're watching Cuba, and we are watching the coast of the United States for potential impacts here on the Gulf Coast as we get into the weekend. Today is Thursday, so we don't have a lot of time here. As this develops and spins up potentially quickly, look at the projected path. These are some of the models that we are looking at here. And yes, there could be some interaction with Western Cuba, but that's not likely here to really prevent the development that could occur in the Gulf of Mexico as it moves over some very warm waters. There is some shear. We'll have to keep an eye on that. That's these brighter colors on here that would be impacting it in this zone. But you notice what happens here. And Jess, thank you for doing that. Once it gets up into the Gulf of Mexico, there's really not much shear at all that would prevent it from developing. And we know here in the Gulf of Mexico, with the very warm sea surface temperatures that we have and the high ocean heat content that we have in the ocean, things can change quickly. Things can ramp up quickly. Things can develop quickly. So be ready for a system that potentially is strengthening as it heads towards the coast. The rainfall will also be heavy. This is a European model. The track is just a little further to the west than the GFS, and you can see that footprint of rain heavy in Louisiana, where we already had a top 3 or 5 wettest year to date, depending on which exact location, but it's been a wet 2021. And then we look at the GFS model, and it shifts it just a little over to the east, simply because the track is a little faster and over to the east. But again, a very heavy rain footprint coming in and moving inland as well. So again, Invest 99L, it has a 90% chance of developing here, and we're going to be watching this, tracking every detail, every new piece of